Welcome to Blooming Horizon, where we share and we grow. Winds, walls, and truths, it's a journey we all know. Blooming Horizon, let your parent heart glow. Let's grow as we go.
Hey, welcome back. We're in our new series about womanhood. So I know, Lola Marie, you had a really good topic that we can kind of jump off on for womanhood.
Yeah, so a few questions. What were you taught about what it means to be a woman, womanhood? What were you taught about what it means to be ladylike? What do you think about womanhood? And what are you teaching your young women in your life about womanhood? What does that look like? Because for me, I've gone through, of course, I've been journeying throughout my life, but journeying from being a child and taking in everything that I was taught about what it means to walk in this body that is female. And then, living through my teenage years, being a wife and a mother, participating in my community, and then having lived long enough to form my own opinions, and then having to reflect and look back over what I was taught, what I think about, and what I want to do about it from now on. So I'm kind of going through a reformation of my own, and I think it's really important. I'm really happy about the younger generations talking about and thinking about what gender roles, how they want to be, who says, who gets to decide.
Yes.
And I think it's really freeing, and I think it helps us be whole beings, to have the right to make choices for how we want to exist in this world. So,
Agreed.
Yeah.
The young
That's
people,
good.
they're moving us forward.
I think so.
Like, so good. Like, I was thinking about that. Like, you were like, what is it? I was thinking about your questions, and then I was like, yeah, I don't know, because I think now what I'm loving is just that it does feel like that whole idea of, like, female gender is being expanded, and it feels so much more just, like, open and free, and it can be what you want it to be. And I think I was just talking to somebody yesterday about this, just like that they're just like letting you be.
Yeah.
Why do we have to put a label on it? Like,
why the corset?
Why, you know what I mean? No. Yeah. To go back to our previous conversation, about we were having producer Juliana about like that. It was like, but sometimes you love period dress and you want to wear that corset. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, I don't want to hate on the corset, but I don't want to be forced into it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Choose.
You get to choose. I think that's the beauty of where we're headed. I can't say we're there yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we get a choice at least.
I know for me growing up, there was a huge emphasis on being ladylike. It was part of your honor, your morality, but also I think it was also an armor to protect you against what people might think of you because of your race or your ethnicity or your socioeconomic class. But it was a barrier to protect you.
Yeah. Well, I have had a lot of like preschoolers in my life, done like an in-home preschool, and so it's always interesting about 5, 6, 7 when we start to kind of tell like our little girls like, hey, you've got to wear a shirt. It's hot. We talked about, we live in Texas. It's like 100 degrees outside, so they want to like take their shirts off. The boys take their shirts off. They're hot. Girls want to take their shirts off. They're hot. In my mind, I'm like, there's no reason why they can't have their shirts off. Like right now, atomically, they are exactly the same. Do you know what I mean? But then in your mind, you're struggling with like, well, I don't want to set an expectation that that's okay. Or I don't know, like it's something that I've grappled with and still kind of wrestle a little like, ooh, like, do I let them? No, I shouldn't. You know what I mean? But then when they were like 3, it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
But, like as they come up, you're kind of like, how do we,
And I think one thing that's important to consider as well, a lot of what yes, there are gender norms that are international in terms of rights and ways of being, but how we express ourselves in clothing is also very American, like you're concerned, because I know that in Europe, when the kids are little and they look the same from the waist up, the little girls can take off their shirt if it's hot.
Yes.
It's like it's not a big deal. And of course, in sub-Saharan countries, when it's hot, that's common sense to take off.
Right.
It's hot, but yeah. So what were you? How are you all taught or about ladylikeness?
Well, before I talk about that, when you were
Okay.
talking about Europeans and like, I remember being at a swim lesson for my son, and it was like a big indoor swim place. Okay, so it's inside, and they had like a little tot group. They had just finished, and there are rooms to change. There is a space for showers. Well, it was a dad with a daughter, and I did not know he was European at the time. But I realized quickly he was, because I've seen that before, like maybe at the pool, like in our neighborhood pool or something. We have people not from the U.S. In our neighborhood, but he just strips her down to nothing. And there were other like parents, and there were some like male dads, and they were like, "Oh my," and you know what I mean. And I said, "Hey, there are changing rooms here. They don't really like for you to change your child right here in front of everyone." And he was like, "Oh, okay." Like he didn't know, you know what I mean? And so I grapple with this idea that people turn what is very innocent into something that it is not. But it's because of the people in our society that, let's be honest, are tainted. They're tainted. And so now I grapple with my nieces, my daughters, about how I want them to leave the house. Things we will not do, like what we will not do. But I hate that I have to. I hate that when my niece goes somewhere and I'm like, yeah, but do you feel like that outfit is safe though? But her response is, but this is what I want to wear. I want to just live my life. Like, they can live their life. That's their problem. I want to be like, yeah, until it's your problem. You know, like, so I have this hard, because women should be able to do that they want to do. Dress how you want to dress, be what you want to be, choose what you want to do. I support it. But the problem is that we live in a society that has been tainted. And there's things that cause these men to go down the wrong track. And because of that, now it's on us to make sure that they don't do, like, it's wild to me. But in the end, I want you safe. In the end, that's what matters to me the most. So I grapple with that.
Yeah.
So probably, I'm sure a lot of the root of that discomfort and that fear, because really it's fear, right?
Right.
We're fearful. We are afraid of what can
happen.
what has happened
Yes.
to happen to
Again.
our young people. Like, because like I've got a 17-year-old
Yeah.
girl. Well, case in point, one of her friends, they've been talking about like what they want to do for their senior trip, and so they're like, I think we want to go like in a car trip. The three all 17-year-old girls, like, drive down to the beach, do something, right? And one of the girls was like, parents was like, I don't see that happening. But less than 12 months ago, they let her older brother get in the car with his best friend, just the two of them, and drive to like 3 or 4 national parks. Like, they kind of just did a loop here around us. And they're like, but you let Cole, like, Cole, like, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yes. And even in my heart, I want to be like, injustice. You know, like, if you let one, you should let the other.
Yep.
And I just say, the thing is, and I had to tell my daughter, I was like, I mean, number one, just, you're not old enough to like rent a car, rent an apartment. You can't do anything yet. You're still too young. Like, road tripping is maybe like when we graduate, when we're like 21.
Yeah.
Everybody's 21, right? I was like, but number two, I said, for me, it's more about your inability to, like, you're not going to go camping, like, that I'm not comfortable with. Like, I cannot wrap my mind around 3 unaccompanied young women camping in a park.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Even though they probably could do it and it would be absolutely fine. Like, no one's going to bother them. If anything else, society is shifting, and sometimes it's just doing things afraid, right? Like,
Yeah, but then there's being afraid, and then there's just being dumb. And where's that line? I'm not saying that's
Yeah.
dumb. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, where is that line?
Mhm.
And, okay,
I think it's
I-
also being mindful of where we live too,
sure.
And who that kid is.
And who that kid
and
is.
who they're with.
But you don't know who is at that gas station. You don't know who. And those
Yeah.
things are like, yeah, but they have to live their life. Yes. That is the problem. I feel like I want to enjoy, embrace, and dance with freedom as a woman,
Mm-hmm.
and that will never be.
I mean, or, like, my daughter is armed with she has a taser.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about, like, you know what I mean? I think there are also women who are out there educating other women on how to navigate in the world, in a freedom, but also with a mindfulness of self-preservation and, like, because I'm going to be honest, I think I probably did not move through my early 20s with much concern for my own physical safety that I have now.
Huh.
Like,
Yeah.
now, even our own neighborhood, which I am fairly confident I could walk in the dark in the
Yeah.
morning around our neighborhood and feel good about it. Even into the park, the city park behind us. I wouldn't. But I mean, I think that I could, like, be like, well, I'll walk and I'll get on the track, like, as the sun's coming up or whatever. Like, but I feel like I don't remember at college being
No.
overly concerned.
I used to walk in the dark on a mind clearing
I-
hike at night.
I need you to know
Bless
I
my
had a
heart.
job.
Bless your heart.
I mean, I did.
No. I had a job in the art department, had like a basement.
Mhm.
Guys, listen to this. This is crazy. I had a basement. It was kind of terrifying. It is a place where you would set a horror movie, okay? And my job was to work there on, like, Thursday, Friday, Saturday evenings to let people have access to it. Like, they could come in as long as it had, like, a monitor. I need you to know, like, I think one person came in the whole time I worked this job. But when I would get off at, like, 9, it was in the basement. So I had to come out the backside of the building at the basement entrance, go up these dark stairs that was, like, concrete, up the dark stairs, into the dark parking lot. And it was way back on the music building side of campus. So there's nothing
There's nothing
back there except residents. Like, it touched a residential street, but it was dark. And I remember the few times coming out of there and being like,
Yeah.
okay, we're just going to get to the top of the stairs. When we get to the top of the stairs, nobody thought, should we leave this 19-year-old child in
Down
the
here
basement
by yourself.
You know what I mean? Like, I just took the job because it fit with my schedule. Even as a whole, nobody was like, that seems like, or nobody said, hey, why don't you call campus police? They'll escort you. Like, they'll come meet you as you lock up. And,
Sure.
things that I would think to tell my children, all of my children now. Because I have a son, too. And
Yeah.
their personal safety, I feel like, no longer is resigned to their gender. I think it's
Yeah. That's
definitely
It's true.
And maybe
lopsided, but
because I'm thinking about it, and you're both like, I mean, I was walking in. Never would I. But I think too that I think I was parented with fear. Like, I wouldn't say it was completely fear based, but it was very much like, we don't do this because this could happen. And I was like, well, if that could happen, I don't want to. I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? But I also think it depends on your life situations. I remember in college having someone that was interested in me, but I kindly declined that interest, and they started to follow me. I would find them with me everywhere I would go. All of a sudden they were there, and I was like, oh. And so, and then for those of you that has happened to you, and you start to feel like the pricklies on the back of your, like, you feel like someone's there, but then you look around, you can't. It's the worst feeling. I have been there. So I remember for a solid semester having someone had to escort me and do that. I remember them escorting me to back, like, they would just walk me all the way back to my dorm. So I think that is hard, like, having all of us having girls, and I just want them to be who they want to be, without any box being put around them.
Yeah, and I think that also goes to personality as well.
Sure.
Because historically, young women, especially if you're of a certain, like if you're a landowner, we'll say in wherever your classes, there's finishing school, etc., and how you comport yourself, talking the right amount, and the correct volume, not too loud, just loud enough for your conversational partner, and so forth. But I think there's also, I'm trying to hold space for especially my youngest, because I'm thinking about this now, the freedom to express herself as a young woman in her personality. This one in particular, tends to have a very large, vivacious personality. You know, that includes volume, animation. She's very lively, but just letting her be big and bold and vivacious because it's in her, and that's how she's crafted, and it's good.
Yeah.
You know, let it be and see what it blossoms and blooms into even more so as she grows and as life, you know, enriches who she is.
Yeah.
Just let them be. They don't have to, you know.
Well, and I think that's like what's kind of driving parenthood right now isn't necessarily like us letting these kids be something like they're new. It's not new. We just were never allowed that freedom. You know what I mean? And I think that's like when you think about like, well, what does it mean to be a woman? It was not even so much about our girlhood or our womanhood, but it was how the outside world perceived
Respectability.
your girlhood and your womanhood. Yeah, like I'm thinking, like to me, I don't think I received a lot of instruction on how to be, but on what not to be. Did you guys ever do cotillion?
Yes.
Yes, you did. We have very similar upbringings. There was this thing that happened probably third, fourth, fifth grade, somewhere around in there. Still pretty. We were little. We might have been middle school, and you went to this like 12-week course. And you danced. They taught you like the box step and the waltz. And when we had to wear white gloves, mostly to save ourselves from sweaty palms and we danced boy girl. And there was like a dinner night where they taught you like table etiquette and manners and tried to like instruct you in polite conversation. And there's still merit to all of that. Like I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
For sure.
Like I think there is a lot of like social,
how to get along with people.
yes, and like how to interact in a social, even though it was forced and unnatural as like anything. I think I still probably took things away from it.
How to share space with other people in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way, and like having to like ask, like, may I have this dance? And they do this even in our homeschool community. There is a homeschool formal for high school, mostly like sophomore, junior, seniors. Same thing, but I think it's socially giving them tools that they might not necessarily know that they need. Do you know, like I put it in like, because my son did it. My daughter didn't want to, but my son did it and he enjoyed it. He enjoyed learning how to dance and feeling confident when he's gone into invited to somebody's wedding. And then he's, I can go out here and I can dance and feel I can do a box step, I can do a waltz. But then there is something to be said for if you've ever had a dance partner who can dance, then you're like, this is why group social dancing was a thing. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not just side touch, step, drop it to the floor. You know what I mean? Like it's
Side step, drop to the floor.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there is something sociable and
They were not
lovely.
teaching that at the homeschool.
No.
I want to do that though, like as an adult. So if you know a place that does this, please in Texas,
Oh, I'm sure.
post it, because
It's fun.
and now I understand, when I read my books, y'all already know about my books, and then and it's like set in that time period. And they're like, oh, are you going to the thing tonight? And, well, I don't know. We'll see. And then, like, it's a big thing. Like, someone's bringing the big whatever basket of bread that they've baked, and someone else is bringing. I'm here for this. It's a community experience.
Well, it's like they're still having balls, especially with Bridgerton and all of that. There are now companies that throw balls and parties like this, and I think that's why country western dancing is so popular and fun. If you've never gone country western dancing, like that is a fun night.
It's fun
as long as people keep everything in check. But like, because it is social. And I think what I love about country western dancing is that you go with somebody, but it is okay. Everybody's just there to dance with everybody, whether it's line
Yes.
dancing, somebody comes, hey, can I have this dance? Oh, I'd love to have this dance. And and it is a different experience
Yeah.
if you dance with someone who can sort of lead you in. You talked about something like this idea of just like a corporate thing that's happening in its own form of like expression of joy, and that's what happens in group social dance situations. But yeah,
Yeah.
square dancing, we did it in college one time. It was so fun.
It's fun.
It's legit. Because I mean, it has nothing to do with womanhood, but
It doesn't at all. I don't know how we got there.
I don't
Bit
know.
by bit.
We've
Bit
taken
by
some
bit.
weird little left turns,
That's right.
But ultimately, I think womanhood means something different to each and every one of us.
Yeah.
And I think we can all agree that we wish for ourselves and for our kids and generations to come that they have the opportunity to really lean into their womanhood more without fear and without concern.
No. What I really have been thinking about, even as I've been listening to Trevor Noah's autobiography, Born a Crime, and the phenomenal, fierce, tenacious woman that he has as his mother, Trevor Noah's mother, just being wildly brave and intelligent, street smart, and how she raised him, and against almost impossible odds, And I think that there's a lot to be said for that. I would love to see in the future pushing into exploring the vast complexity of womanhood and female relationships. I mean, I think that we have not seen that, one, because there hasn't been an interest, but two, I think that there's a level of fear. What happens if women do see the beauty, the inner beauty and strength and intelligence and capability in each other and come together to incorporate, to support each other? What will that do to our system as it exists now? I think there's fear, but I think there's also encouragement for generations coming behind to see that, to be able to step into who and what they want their life to be like as women. So I want to see more about that. I've been really encouraged and challenged and kind of convicted about this.
Now being able to see where those holes really are starting to shine of what just the female perspective brings to the table, and then what is missing. I think is going to be some really interesting conversations happening moving forward. Like, I think it was felt pretty quickly during COVID when, for social default, maybe for lack of a better word, like a lot of if a parent had to come home to stay, it was usually the female. Again, probably because of like pay inequality and that sort of thing. But now people are really starting to have those conversations, and they're like actively working to get women back into the workforce, but without like social support to make sure that the family is supported when one or both parents is out of the home, then that those things aren't gonna really like move forward, unfortunately.
So you're going to have to come back to hear more about that. We have lots more episodes about womanhood, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Looming horizon, we're here to show in the highs and the lows. Let's grow as we go.